Hi, I'm Andre Hewitt, and welcome to Newsline 360 here on TVC Channel 40. We want to welcome all our viewers watching on the TVC network, wherever you are in the Caribbean or wherever you are in the world. As we are online, we're streaming on tvcplus.live and on our social media networks. This week on Newsline 360, our news and current affairs program, we'll be discussing the issue of Ecco, the Eastern Caribbean Collective Organization, the entity that is authorized to collect royalties on behalf of musicians and composers in the Eastern Caribbean, and of course, affiliate artists and composers as well. And to speak with us is Mr. Martin James. He's the CEO of Ecco, based in St. Lucia, and he's joining us now on this call. Mr. James, welcome. Pleasure to have you.
Right. Thank you very much for the opportunity once again, and I'm happy to be here.
Yes,
And I
well, of
want to say
course,
good
just for
afternoon to everybody tune in. I want to say good afternoon.
Yes. Well, just for our viewers, just to keep them abreast of why you're here. The last time we had you on our sister network, SK Newsline, we were discussing the issue that arose with Echo between Echo and the government of Saint Kitts and Nevis, where you were basically stopped from operating, pending certain things being put in place. This was based on a legislation that was passed a few months ago, which required Echo to meet certain requirements before they could operate in St. Kitts and Nevis. What's the latest now? Since we last spoke, then you would have gone through the process. Where are we now?
All right. So thank you very much again for the opportunity to provide an update, and we are pleased to provide this update as it relates to our status in Saint Kitts and Nevis. We first off want to say thank you to all parties in terms of the process that we've gone through, and we just want to state that we remained true to the process, and we remain true to the rule of law, and we remain true to our mission and vision in the entire process. So as it stands, on the 18th of of of, of June, we received the our compliance, our authorization to continue operating in St. Kitts and Nevis. There was a halt really as a result of our non-compliance, if you want to put it that way, based on the legislation. We from the IPO's office, so we are in full compliance. We received our certificate of authentication, of authorization rather. We received that certificate, and we resume our operations in St. Kitts and Nevis. We are fully authorized to resume our operations. That means that the all users of copyright music must obtain a copyright license from Echo. That did not stop though. The only issue as it stand as it stood with the last time was there was Echo was disbanded, if you want to put it that way. I'm just using some blunt terms. Disbanded by virtue of the fact that the new legislation came into place and we were not fully in compliance. But we assured viewers and our members alike and the authorities alike that we remained true to the process, and we did all what we had to do within the particular time frame to ensure that we remain compliant. The application was sent in advance of the music festival that just concluded, and we were hoping that everything would be in place before the music festival, because we really needed the music festival being such the magnitude of that event. It needed to be licensed. So that event was not licensed, and as such, it it created an anomaly for the rights holders that took part in this event. That is a discussion that we will need to have, because their rights were they didn't get clearance to perform. I mean, for the usage of them of their works at that festival. So we are hoping that at least we could come to some resolve in that regard. So the members and the affiliates' rights works that we used during the festival, at least royalties could be remitted to them.
Now, on that note, and we're going to come back to the music festival in a bit, but let's talk about another matter that existed before you got the certification. You were also in a court battle with the government, where an injunction was filed. The injunction wasn't successful, but the matter was still in court. Where are we now where that is concerned as it pertains the government and Echo on this matter, on this legal matter?
Okay, so just a backstory. The injunction that was not granted was basically a stop, just to give us an interim injunction, to revoke the legislation, because we had this matter, and then we wanted the courts to consider given the injunction just to allow us to operate, especially with the music festival at hand and all that. The court didn't see it prudent or fitting to issue that. So that was the only aspect. But we remain um, uh, resolute in our position that there are anomalies with the regulation, and we are going um, ahead with our request for judicial review. We have been granted um, time. We have been granted a time through
Just to be clear, the judicial review that you're seeking is for a review of the legislation itself?
yes, yes, yes.
Right.
A review of
Now,
this
on that
legislation.
note, because I know when we spoke the last time, you were making the point that there were issues, you had issues, ECHO had issues with the legislation that was passed. This legislation was passed back in early December
Yeah,
and it
December,
came into force. You got, according to what you're
6th
saying,
of
you got
December.
short notice
Yeah.
to live up to the requirements. You weren't able to do that in time, and so you were suspended pending the certificate. Now,
Well, just to add to that narrative,
yes,
we did write to the authorities
right.
requesting that we did, and that was not
That was not acknowledged. Yes, you did mention that the
no.
last time we spoke. Now, what are some of the issues? And maybe you can't go into all of them right now. If you could just maybe outline some of the issues that ECHO has, which is legislation itself, that why you're still in court seeking this judicial review.
Yeah, well, I would prefer our attorney speak to some of the issues, but because you would appreciate the fact that it is in the court, you have to be real careful how you treat and how you speak to it. So if you would permit me to just let's speak to the successes as opposed to
Okay,
some of the. I just want to
noted.
just be guided,
Understood.
legally, right?
Understood. All right.
So so.
So yeah.
Mhm.
So now that you have this certificate, you're now back in business, so to speak.
Right. What I want to say in that regard is the the we actually got slowed down, but the narrative of all the challenges that we are facing in St. Kitts and Nevis still remain, and that narrative was even before we were suspended. And we need to impress on the authorities to at least let us work in tandem, because we are all part of this ecosystem of intellectual property, and ensuring that in the best interest of our creatives we operate, and the government or the authorities have that same interest as well. So we need to ensure that there is unison in achieving the protection of the creatives' rights. We've had some the challenges we would speak to broadcasters, because the legislation or the Copyright Act speaks to broadcasting and the use of copyrighted music in public. And we have had a lot of issues in terms of ensuring that everybody is in adherence to the respective laws. The government is responsible to ensure that laws are in place to protect the citizenry and to safeguard, whichever sector that it speaks to. And we just want to just call, and we really want to meet with the government, meet halfway. I could appreciate that, because we are going for judicial review. You might one might it might be a little skeptical to meet with us, but we are, amenable to meeting. Let us meet with the authorities. Let us discuss the issues, because it's really we need to work to achieve, what we need to achieve for the creatives in St. Kitts and Nevis. Because as I said earlier, I've said before rather, The creatives in St. Kitts are not shy of creativity. They are not shy of standards, of good standards. They are not shy of working and putting good music together. They're not shy. And St. Kitts and Nevis is definitely not a lawless society. So we want to fit within all those parameters and ensure that the narrative is changed where we could work in sync. Um, we are happy to be here, and we want to at least maintain the relationship that we share with the creatives, our members, our affiliates, and more so the authorities in St. Kitts and Nevis, because we need to work this together. And I want to say categorically clear, we are not in a fight with the authorities. What we want is that we respect each other, because we are all governed by legislation and we need to stick within those parameters.
On that note, and just before we started discussing this, you were speaking about music festival, the St. Kitts Music Festival, which is outside of Carnival, the largest music event that we have in St. Kitts and
Yes.
Nevis, and one of the areas that Echo would target in terms of getting collecting royalties. You did not have that opportunity this time around. Is
And,
there
and
any
2024 as well.
well, you didn't, yeah, you mentioned
Yes.
in
Yeah,
2024.
yeah.
So where are we with that? How is Echo going to approach that? Is there means or ways in which you can recoup those royalties, or will you be restricted from doing so?
Well, the fact that we were restricted, it placed the government in a, I mean, unsavory position, because the government now had to ensure they got all the clearances. Now, I am not sure if the authorities got those respective clearances from the CMOs representing the creatives. I am not sure. But what I could say to you is Echo is not aware, and by virtue of that, we are required, because we have the reciprocal agreements, we are required and mandated to inform them that this took place, and we were not basically in control. We were not able to administer those rights on their behalf. And
So if
then
they haven't collected, if they haven't secured those rights,
Mhm.
and of course, as you mentioned, you were not in a position to do so because of the situation at the time. What then? How are you going to collect those royalties on behalf of the respective CMOs and persons
well,
who are to be
well,
entitled to the benefits?
yeah. What I will tell you is, anytime, um, if an individual, a creator, did not give you the right to use their works in public, then it speaks to infringement. I am not sure. I cannot answer that clearly. I cannot answer it. But what I could tell you is we have reciprocal agreements with the the creatives, or the CMOs of the creatives who performed at the event, and the authorities, or whoever held the St. Kitts Music Festival. In that case, it would have been the government responsible, or the agency, a creature of the government responsible. They would have to obtain those rights. And if they didn't, then it would be their, I mean, responsibility to ensure that those rights and those royalties are collected. I'm not sure
Well,
how they did.
let me ask a scenario then. Is there a scenario where you as Echo can say to your respective CMOs that you have a disagreement with, reciprocal arrangement with,
Yeah.
look, this was a situation, we were not in a position to perform our duties, we were restricted from doing so, and we have not gotten any indication from the authorities
Oh,
that,
this is what I'm doing.
right. So then it will be left up to the CMOs to decide how to approach that.
Yeah, and the government, because it is the government that should have obtained the rights before the event took place, before the festival took place.
Right.
At least there should have been some communication of sorts. I am not sure. I'm not in a position to say that it did happen or it didn't happen. I'm not in a position to say, but I'm in a position to indicate and to say
Mhm.
clearly that we have an obligation to inform our affiliates of the situation.
Now, I take it you haven't done so yet.
Well, well, the official one is going out, because we were trying to see at best how we could have, how we could deal with it, because there's still room for addressing the situation without going to the CMOs and doing all that. There's still room for that, but there must be discussion because you can there's room to fix it. There's room to fix it because at the end of the day, um, the works were used. The event did take place. There was a budget for the event, and there's room to fix it
All right.
to address.
And on that note, I know one of the requirements or one of the work that Echo does when they go to these events is to take a record of the music played. Assuming that the DJs that was on the stage throughout the 3 nights did not record or document the songs that they played, how will Echo know or be able to tabulate or to calculate based on, because I know that's part of your responsibility as well.
Right. So the responsibility, as you say, just to be clear, is to license the event. By licensing the event, you give them a permit. There's a cost that is using a tariff, of course, that is applied. We get those license, and what supports that position is that we get the data, and which the data would mean the songs that were used during that event, as well as the names and the rights holders for it. What we did in that instance is, Echo, you are, okay, just to tell you, we are, the promoter is obligated by way of our agreement to issue, to allow Echo entry into the event to come and get that data and to go backstage, which is part of the process. So in that case, we bought our own tickets, and our agent was on the ground to ensure that she, in her usual style, agent, our Grace Richardson is our agent in Saint Kitts and Nevis. She was at the event, and she did get the data in pretty much the same way, that she does. It's just that there was no license beforehand really being
Right.
issued.
So
But
you have that
continued
record and
our
you'll be able to
status quo.
provide that
Yes, yeah,
record to
we did what we
your
did. Yes.
receptor.
So we have the data. And there's still some information that could be provided to Echo for us to be able to get things going in pretty much the same way that we've done before.
Your favorite TV shows are just a click away with TVC Plus at tvcplus.live. Stream our 24-hour live programming. Catch the latest episodes of TVC Originals on demand. Enjoy premium pay-per-view content and so much more. Watch on any device, TV, laptop, tablet, or smartphone. Visit www.tvcplus.live. Stream, watch, enjoy.
Tune in to Insights on TVC, where we explore the unique stories and perspectives of our fascinating guests.
I used to get in trouble for talking.
I am really angry. I forget English.
I had good examples of what people could become.
Each episode brings you an in-depth look at individuals from diverse backgrounds, sharing their personal journeys and valuable life insights.
I don't know. We're gonna bathe here because Papa Bratcher says nobody owns the beach in St. Kitts.
People who sound like this and saying that they're like 15, I'm like, you have a beard.
Insights airs on Mondays at 8 p.m. with rebroadcast on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Only on Television Caribbean, TVC. You can also stream on demand at tvcplus.live.
Are you tired of Wi-Fi dead zones in your home? The Cable has the ultimate solution with our whole home Wi-Fi coverage. Say goodbye to frustrating signal drops and hello to seamless connectivity in every corner of your home. No more
Mom, my tablet's not working in my bedroom. My game is freezing, Daddy.
or WhatsApp calls dropping as you walk around the house. So many people struggle with dead zones and restricted Wi-Fi, and the Cable has the answer. Enjoy full blanket increased Wi-Fi coverage with installation installation in 48 hours or less. Whole home Wi-Fi coverage is here. Get the whole family connected today. Come in or call the cable at 465-2588 to get your whole home Wi-Fi boost installed. The cable, always giving you more. Terms and conditions apply.
It's entertainment TV at its finest. Join us for Main Event, the Caribbean's leading entertainment show only on Television Caribbean TVC. Tune in as our host chats with top artists and entertainers, bring you the latest buzz in entertainment, and showcase the hottest music videos from the region's biggest stars. Main Event airs on Thursdays at 8 p.m. with rebroadcast on Fridays at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. When it comes to entertainment, it's always the Main Event on TVC.
Welcome back to Newsline 360. We continue our interview with a representative of Ecco, the CEO, Mr. Martin James.
There was a time some years ago, there were some issues with promoters in Antigua and Barbuda, and Ecco would have, in enforcing, while you're enforcing your responsibility. And there were some concerns, and I've heard other persons here speak to that they believe that the tariffs or the charges that are charged by Ecco are a little bit on the high side. And for promoters, they feel, we can't make money if our profits essentially are going, all of it is going to Ecco. How do you respond to this?
Okay, a good response to this. Is quite straightforward. In most instances, the reason one and particular maybe a promoter would speak that way is because they've not placed the value of the copyright and intellectual property. They've not placed the value on what we do and the creatives. I could assure you that during the festival, during any fete, this is not the only player in the game, but during any fete, if you have a fete without music, it will not be a fete. It is a major component of what you do. So promoters go out, they pay the stage, and because there's a lot, they pay the stage, they pay security, they pay lighting, they pay advertising, they pay everything else. But when it comes to the creatives, the works, the songs that are used at the event, they always place dismal value to the creatives. So I say that our tariffs, and I could ask any of the promoters to go and check WIPO, go and check CSAC, go and check any promoter across not just the Caribbean or the OECS, but go and check across the world and see what tariffs that are applied. Ecco is on the lower end of the tariff, which is 5% of the receipts. What we did in Saint Kitts and Nevis was to recognize that a person still needed to understand, where we're coming it and how it applies. We offered an introductory rate for an entire year. An introductory rate, a reduced tariff, albeit that we are already at the lower end. We went even lower with our tariffs, just to allow for persons to come on board, broadcasters, the promoters, and all users of music, really. That is it. And that is a proactive approach in terms of dealing, because we are all in the same space and we need to maintain at least a good and workable relationship. So it's actually on the reverse. It's actually on the reverse for the promoters in particular. That if we understand the value of music that is used within your fete or your event, then you would see that what we place on it is very at its lowest. So I think there's a lot more educating that needs to be done, a lot more education, a lot more understanding of why copyright and how it works. We value and we see and we read on a daily basis, we read about all the creatives across the world, all those big artists that making it and making it. They don't just make it, it's because people respect their rights and they have everything in place to ensure that they make a proper living, fair use for fair play. Yeah.
All right.
I
Well,
don't know if that
listen.
answers your question,
Yeah,
but
well, I mean, it is an answer. So,
yeah,
and you stated clearly your position on that. Let's
yeah,
jump quickly and still on the same issue. You did pay out, or did make an announcement some weeks ago about Echo paying out, making royalty payments.
yes.
Um, for those persons who are not aware, just give us a breakdown of of how much was paid and where we stand where that is concerned.
Okay, Echo paid out for the period 2023. We were a little behind with those payments, and we are committed to um, becoming current with our distributions. So our last distribution payout was for 2023. We paid in excess of 1 million EC dollars to rights holders across the world. And that would be our local members throughout the OACS as well as our affiliates around the world. 44% of that amount remained with ECHO members, and the other 56% went out to our affiliates. So we are just concluding that external payment. So we did our internal first, which was to pay out to our members, and then subsequently to pay out to our affiliates. Because it's very tasking, so we do try to do it within close proximity, but it's we really needed to pay it out. I could tell you that we have started another distribution. We should be paying by end of year, which will be for the period 2024. So that would make us fully current with our paying and with our distributions, and then 2025 would be paid, naturally in 2026. Well, what I want to say is that a lot the attempts from the office, well, the action from the office, really, we went and we call out a lot of our members to please register your music. If we collect, we pick up your music in our samples, and it's not registered, you would be depriving yourself of royalties due. If that happens for 3 consecutive years, then that money goes back into a general pool that is paid out to all rights holders. So we continue to call on our members to ensure that every time they perform at every event, that they need to inform Echo of the set list and provide the set list. All events are supposed to give us the playlist. All DJs, we're supposed to get that data, like we spoke of earlier, at live events, and as well as establishments. With the establishments, we use data from the radio stations. Paying radio stations, that is one of the anomalies in Saint Kitts and Nevis again, because we do not have the broadcasters on board. We need the broadcasters to come on board, because data is we collect the data from those broadcasters to pay out royalties. That's a major anomaly, and that's one of the challenges that we need to change. That's a narrative that needs to improve, and that is why we need the government to work in sync with us and ensure that the provisions within the Copyright Act is ahead. The St. Kitts members, the percentage, I don't have the exact percentage, but it was not a very huge percent of that 44% going to members in St. Kitts, because of one, the collections, because when you going to pay out to St. Kitts, is based on what you collect from St. Kitts. You pay against the data and the members in St. Kitts, and you need the data would mean the the registering of your work. It would mean the collecting of the data, the provision of those data. And two of the biggest events or paying events for our members would be the Music Fest and Carnival, both of whom we've not yet collected for the last 2 years, simply because we've been trying and we were in full compliance for 2024. So you realize the situation that we are faced with, and we
Yep.
need to change that, because if we do not improve on that variable and that narrative, it simply means the creatives in St. Kitts and Nevis would be receiving diminishing returns. And it is really unfair to them. And not just them, because every song that is played at those events, we are supposed to administer the rights. So whatever that's coming to them in particular, they're missing out on that.
So going back to that, and kind of harking back to music festival, you're saying that you didn't collect for 2024. What was the reason for not receiving any payments or having the license dealt with in 2024, considering that you were allowed to operate then?
The authorities gave the commitment. The authorities did give the commitment. We were at the event, and the authorities, what the authorities have to do is to give final figures to be able to apply the tariff and apply the payment, the royalties due, and we are still at that stage. Unfortunately, we are still at that stage.
The data, going back on the royalties, what do you read into that in terms of the majority of the money, 56% or 50 something percent, is being paid to your reciprocal CMOs, which means that would be the songs of foreign artists and composers that were performed in the OACS. What does that say in terms of our own creatives? Is it that
Yep.
we have a situation where our own creatives are utilizing more of the foreign material and not so much their own or the own of other Ecco members
Well, let's say users rather than creatives.
or users? Yes.
Yeah, users. Let's say users. It speaks directly to what you just alluded to, and what I could say lend itself to that is the fact that for some reason or the other, we seem to, in the local parlance, put down our own. We always criticize ours. The quality is not up to par. That this, that we criticize, but I could tell you, not in recent past. We have excellent, excellent standards. We have excellent creativity happening within the OECS, and in particular this time in Saint Kitts and Nevis. So that our creatives are putting in the work. What we need is for them to receive the due compensation for the use of their work. Another thing that lends itself to that is the amount of airplay that we give to the foreign work. Now, Ecco cannot come in any way and say, okay, Ecco has to be careful as to how it positions itself, because we administer the rights of our members and as well as our affiliates. So we cannot choose in any one way. But what we could say is what we've recognized in some other jurisdictions, that the respective authorities have introduced something called a quota system that has helped the local economy and local creatives. Where, let's use Nigeria. In recent past, you saw, I think in about a week or 2 weeks ago, the Nigerian president was in the OECS, in particular in St. Lucia. And St. Lucia, and we applaud them, they actually signed an MOU with the Nigerian government. And I heard that the Nigerian government actually is speaking to a better collaboration at all angles with the OECS. That would include Saint Kitts and Nevis. But what I want to just highlight here quickly is the fact that the Nigerian government saw it prudent to put systems in place and bodies in place to look at infringements, to look at copyright management, not just the CMOs, but to support the respective CMOs. And they introduced something called a quota system, where 70% of all music played, all music broadcast in Nigeria has to be Nigerian content. 70%, so 30% would be the others. Now, that is the the Nigerian government recognizing the need to ensure that there should be more airplay within their own ecosystem or within their own space for local creatives. That boosts the Nigerian economy by about 2.2% or 2.5%. It added to the GDP, which amounted to millions of dollars. So there is value in the government recognizing the need to invest more in their own local creatives, not actually pushing out the rest of the world, but ensuring that their local creatives enjoy at least 70% of the content. The more it stays, the more money you have, or the more that it circulates in the economy, the more economy grows, the better you feel, and everybody's sitting happy and getting due compensation. So these are some of the discussions that we need to be talking about at the government level. Because I could tell you, whilst Echo was pushed away by the authorities or disbanded by the authority did not come and indicate what was plan B for the creatives. So it might be worthy for the creatives to ask during that period, how was our rights administered, and what did you do and what did you have in place? That might be a fair question for the authorities. But we are willing to meet with the authorities to see how best we could, put things into perspective and for us to improve the narrative for all, especially the creatives. Because whilst we at it, they continue to create good music, they continue to invest in the craft, they continue to be their works are infringed upon because it's being used and it's not being compensated, fairly compensated. So there's so many angles that we need to discuss and to put into a proper structure for the upkeep of law and order and to ensure that the creatives get their fair compensation. There's quite a lot. I'm certainly sure this interview is really not enough, for us to, discuss.
Quickly though, so just going back to the royalties. So you pay royalties at the end of the year, end of the
Well,
for
we've
the
done
TVC.
biannual. We've done
Biannual.
biannual because we were a bit behind with the payment of royalties, and as such, by end of year this year, we would be fully in sync with the
So then you'll be
current.
paying annually then thereafter.
Well, that's left to the board. We are looking at the entire narrative simply because collections, you want something substantial and we want to improve, and what I want us to improve on our collections and improve on our payout, because all that happens, my kind sir and everybody listening, Echo issues licenses, Echo collects those monies, royalties, the license that the users would pay. Echo extracts its administrative cost, and all the rest of the monies goes out to the rights holders, whether it be local or international. And for that to happen, you must have the corresponding data, which would be usage and proper naming and the metadata of the of, of of the works that they use. So there's a science to it, and we really need to impress on the way it works. So the
So
royalties.
for now you might just remain biannual, unless the board says otherwise.
Well, I mean, there are so many things you need to consider. You can do an annual payout. I'm not sure, but for now we are biannual in terms of we want to become fully current, which would be we've just paid out 2023. We will be paying out 2024 by end of year. And what I could encourage is all creatives that did work throughout 2024, please get in touch with the office and update their repertoire and ensure that all the data and all the registration is in place, as well as the banking information, and update their emails and all that, because you would find in some instances that the information that we had on file for some of our members has changed, and we are trying to reach them. We send out because there's communication, and the communication is only one way. So we need them to ensure that they live up and ensure that the business is, they take care of the business as well.
Right. Finally, as we wrap up, because we're out of time, what's next for Echo? You now have your license. You still have this legal matter tending to, but what's next for you, in terms of your objectives, particularly for Saint Kitts and Nevis?
Okay, the immediate, the short term, is to ensure to meet with the respective government, all stakeholders, to ensure that at least we could get broadcasters on board, get the users of music to, at least for the basic understanding of copyright and the respect of law and order, to ensure that they get their respective licenses. We are going to be relentless in our re-educating and the educating of our members, and to ensure not just members across the board. We are reintroducing a program. We used to have something called Musically Speaking, but we are now looking to reintroduce a program on a weekly basis, which would enable us to inform, re-inform, and ensure that we educate persons or users and members alike to just remain relevant with the information and ensure that things work as it is. That is the short term. That is the short term for now.
All right. Well, Mr. James, thank you so much for taking time out to update us on matters pertaining to Echo, and we hopefully will hear some good news as you try to engage with the authorities.
Well, good news on the other part, because you just heard good news from us. We are compliant, and we even before the CMO regulations, we were compliant with the registrar of companies as well. And we just want to assure everybody listening that we remain true to our mission and vision, and that is to the protection of the copyright of our members and our affiliates. And as well, we do have a moral responsibility to ensure that we work in sync with the authorities to ensure that everything works within that legal framework. So we thank you very much, and we look forward to the engagements and to an improved position in Saint Kitts and Nevis on behalf of our members, especially our members in Saint Kitts and Nevis. So I thank you very much.
And thank you, the viewers, for watching this edition of Newsline 360 on TVC Channel 40. From all of us here at Television Caribbean and our affiliate network, SK Newsline, I'm Andre Huey. Thank you for watching.